Welcome to Grit and Gravitas with Ann and Annie, bringing you savvy, spirited stories of success. We're excited to deliver 30 minutes of inspiration, impact, and goodness. We'll be bringing you guests and friends from around the country who have very special work and personal journeys. I'm Ann Deeter Gallaher, your co-host with Annie Carnathan, and this is Grit and Gravitas. Let's go. Grit and Gravitas, Annie Carnathan, here we are again. It's the highlight of my week when we're doing our podcast and recording. We have a super exciting guest. I feel I say that every time, but I mean that. I mean that every time.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
It's heartfelt.
We are welcoming, and this is actually our second Nashville guest. We're on a roll here. Danielle Breezy with ABC 2 News in Nashville.
Woo!
Danielle, welcome to the Grit and Gravitas podcast studio. We are coming to you from Camp Hill, Pennsylvania, right outside of the capital city of Harrisburg. And you are in my home away from home, Nashville. So welcome to Grit and Gravitas.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. And I don't know if you know this, I'm from outside of Philadelphia in Lansdale, Pennsylvania. So Philly girl, PA girl right here, living in Nashville, but loving it.
There you go. Good. So we've got a little the north-south thing going on too ourselves, and we're excited about that. And I have to tell you a personal message from Monica Bishop Gallaher, who works for me in Nashville, who happens to be my awesome daughter-in-law as well. She is your number one fan. So we were just, you're always on her TV. She loves you. So I'm bringing you, lots of love from Monica too, who is in Nashville as we speak.
Oh, I love Monica. She's the best.
Yeah. I know.
Why are we in Nashville? Why are we sitting low Camp Hill? What in the world are we doing? We got to get to Nashville, girl.
I know. So you're a Philly girl, and I know that's a thing. So that's a big culture thing. My brothers live in Philadelphia as well. And a Cornell grad. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. So I'm from Philly, went to Cornell for my degree in meteorology. So when people always say like, oh, she's the cute weather babe or the weather gal. No, I'm a degreed meteorologist, a degreed scientist. I've got my chops. But yeah, and I'm a little sassy because I am from Philly. So, you know that.
Well, there you, we like sass.
Bring on the sass, girl. We got a lot of sass right back at you. That's how we show love. So my first question, Ann normally does this, Danielle, but how in the world did you know from age 8 that this is what you wanted to do? Like, how does that even happen?
I think you talk to a lot of meteorologists truly that like love the science and the weather. And we just all kind of get it. We just like grew up as weather nerds. We loved it. We were fascinated with it. You know, growing up outside of Philly, we had a ton of snowstorms. When I was born outside of Erie, Pennsylvania, that's where I was born at. We had a tornado outbreak in 1985, one of the biggest ones, the Great Tornado Outbreak of 1985. So all of that kind of was in my head, and I really always loved weather. And then a meteorologist by the name of Glenn Hurricane Schwartz, who is the chief.
Heck
Good name right there. You guys probably know him. Yeah. He came to my school in 8th grade for career day. And I just was hooked after that. I was like, oh my gosh, you can like do something in TV, but still do the weather. And
that's cool.
It was just everything. It all came together.
Did you ever tell Glenn about that serendipitous moment with him coming to career day?
Well, not only did I tell him, I told my parents about it. And, you know, you guys know this a little bit more than some of the kids these days, but they told me to write him a letter to say thank you. And so we didn't have email back then. So I wrote him a handwritten letter, left him my telephone line, my home telephone line, because I didn't have a cell phone. And he called me. He invited me to the station. I got to go up and meet him when I was in, I think it was like early ninth grade. And then he became my weather mentor. So I interned with him. He's helped me throughout my career. I call him my weather dad fondly. You know, he was invited to my wedding. I went to his wedding. We're very, very close. I just saw him. I was at the Jersey Shore and we had lunch with him the other week. He just retired after like 45 years on TV.
Oh yeah. Now where in the Jersey Shore did you go? Last week we were in Avalon, Stone Harbor. Where were you?
Stone Harbor. That's our place. That's our jam.
That's your place. We went
Everybody
there
in
every
Philly
year growing
does,
up.
yeah.
And honestly, I never, ever, ever get tired of it. And even Avalon to me isn't Stone Harbor, even though they're separated by a mile, right?
I agree. I think if you grew up going there, you know what I mean?
That's
Like
right.
that's how I did. And my dad grew up going there. You know, it's just been like generations of everyone going.
Right.
My husband, he's from California. The first time he went with us to the Jersey Shore, he was like, where is everyone from Pennsylvania go? Do they all go to the Jersey Shore on the weekend because there was so much
Yes.
traffic? And I'm like, that's exactly what happens.
Well, and from Philly, Danielle, it's not even an hour. You know,
Right.
you jump on the Garden State, you go in Atlantic City, and you're in, right? And so
Right.
the town of Stone Harbor, though, still is a throwback, right? And so many families, the beach is real wide. I digress, Ann.
Yeah, I
We're
know.
here to talk
We
about
have like serious
Danielle's
deep stuff.
professional. Sorry, man. She's a Philly girl. I'm all in. I'm all in immediately, right? I'm
Well,
having a girl crush moment. I'm just
I know.
telling you.
She'll be taking us
Yeah.
down the cheesesteak route in a minute. So we're just staying.
Yes.
We're going back on the weather. So you do know we kind of have a thing for meteorologists. I'm loving that. We've had Ginger Z on, and I know that you have hosted Good Morning America a couple times. Have you not on the weekends? Tell us about that.
Yes. So first of all, Ginger, I love. I'm glad you had her. She's
Love
one of
her.
my dear
yeah.
friends.
Well,
have kind
and
of
we got
come
the
up-
book. We got her.
You got her book. You
which
got her
was-
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I have her book too. Her books, plural. But I would say this, like, yes, I've gotten a chance. So I'm very lucky that I've been in ABC now for a lot of years, probably over 10 years almost now.
Oh, wow.
Because I worked at ABC in Boston too. Now, both of those companies, technically not ABC owned, so not owned by this, the ABC group that's
Right.
national, but they're familiar with their ABC talent. And so when I was talking to my bosses at work, they asked me, what challenges are you looking for to keep you growing here in Nashville? And I said, I would love to do some national work if there's possibility for that. And so
Awesome.
my general manager reached out and told them about me. Well, they had already known about me, and they were like, yeah, let's use her to fill in. And so
That's awesome.
I've been doing a lot of fill-in work, and it was pretty crazy. My first time, I've been doing a lot from Nashville in the beginning, and then
Right.
they asked me to come up to New York to fill in. And my first day filling in New York was the big studio for Ginger, because she had the week off. And so I'm in with, Michael Strahan,
Yeah.
George Stephanopoulos, the big dogs. And I'm like, whoa, hi, here we are. Okay.
I love that.
But we had a great time. It's a lot of fun. They do it so right up there. They treat you so right. It's so easy. There's so much help around you. So, I really think it's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to kind of keep my craft honing and continue to grow in what I do every day.
So I love that you answered to your bosses. Like I would like to be in national media. A lot of times, and we've mentored many younger women. We say you have to make your list of what your big high gear goals are, and you have to go after them. Connect with people who can help you make that happen. So tell me about. Nashville's not a small market. From 11 years ago, when we first dropped our son off at Belmont University. We should have bought a house then. Let me just tell you that, because homes were about $150,000 around Belmont. Well, now you wouldn't touch one for under $1 million. It's insane. But your market's, fairly significant now. So what was the quantum leap to go to New York City then and be in the Good Morning America studio? Did you feel like, yes, I can do this? Or were you pretty like, oh, this is really the big leagues?
Well, I feel like, I've done, my career path, and I've been very smart about how I've done things and where I've gone in my markets. But before I worked in Nashville, I was in Boston. So, that's definitely a huge market, a top 10 market. And I did weekend mornings there, and I loved it. And I worked at the #1 station, the ABC. It's the powerhouse. And then I had this opportunity there where my husband and I looked at each other. We got engaged. We were getting married. And he said, let's do this now. What markets are we going to, decide to jump on if something happens? Because one of us is going to get a call someday. And to be a chief meteorologist is a big deal. And I had that goal on my list, like you talked about goals. That was my goal to do by 40. Well, I got to the chief job in Nashville, which is I went from market 9 in Boston to 29 in Nashville, and I got that at 31. So I got down here at 31 years old, and, had been a chief and kind of ingrained. I got very lucky. They did a nice job with introducing me to the market. The good news is when I got here, there was a lot of change happening. Like a lot of the chiefs were retiring. They had been here for 25, 30, 40 years. So it was a good time to come into the market, to start out and really get your name out there. And the chief that retired here, she did a nice job we worked together for a month. Like I interviewed with her to make sure I wanted to come to the job. And she kind of held my hand, passed the baton to me on air, behind the scenes. And I really think that was awesome. And it just shows how great it is with women empowering women. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And she was like, you're going to do this and you're going to be here for a long time. And then from that, that helps. Then you get your chops as the chief and you're doing all this new stuff. And, down in Nashville, all you do is get tornadoes. So it's like crazy weather. So we've been bombarded for the last 6 years. So we're always in the national headline. So I think people know about us. They watch us. They watch our coverage. And so from there, I think going to New York, I think I was ready to do it. It was like my next general step. It's always nerve-wracking. If you don't have any nerves, I don't think you're really doing the best of your ability. Like you should be a little anxious or nervous. I get anxious and nervous before severe weather days. So that's a good thing. I think that means you're excited and you're getting your chops wet. But once I was there, everyone's really nice. You find a connection with everyone. Like Robin Roberts, she used to work in Nashville. So she's like my Tennessee girl. Like, hey.
Great. Oh, that's awesome.
And the weekend crew there is so nice, by the way. Like all of them, Eva, Janae, Whit, they make it so easy. They have so much fun. We're always talking in commercial breaks. I feel like we're getting in trouble because we come back on air and we're still talking about something funny, but yeah.
Can you say hot mic? I want to go back, Danielle, to a real subtlety in that story. And it was you saying, I wanted to make sure I wanted to be here. And when you have preparation, experience, a plan, that you're able to pivot, I do think we need to feel more as if it's a 50-50 proposition. Right? We're not in a subservient position to just sort of take what we can get. We're basically kicking the tires to make sure it's a good fit. And so what enabled you to really say, is this where I want to be? Right? What were some of the factors within you that enabled you to have that confidence to say, hey, wait a minute, you're the employer, but it's really important for me too to make the best decision?
I think that comes, I would say, first of all, I think experience, right? You grow in your career. And I think in the beginning of your career, unfortunately, you really have to just work. And that's the big thing. And I tell all the young people, you have to work, you have to have a good attitude, and you really got to do it. But innately, my internal body clock is on like 110% all the time. So I am always thinking about the next move, moving. Like people always say, do you ever sleep? And it's like barely, but that's kind of my personality. And I always want to do more. But I would say that yes, I think the thing is you have to have confidence. And you have to know that you have to know your worth. And I know that I put out the best product that I can do every day, and I give 110%, and I have a good attitude when I do it, so that I know that, if I'm ready for this, I'm going to take the next step. Like with Boston, what I knew is I knew there was no movement for me forward in my career there, that I would probably be on weekends for a good substantial while, which is an amazing job. And some people love it. It works well with their situations, if they're kids and childcare, all that stuff. But for me, I knew I was like, I want more than that. Like in my head, I had other ideas and I had things I wanted to hit and goals I wanted to do. So with that in mind, I knew I was like, okay, it's time to step out and start thinking about where would I go. Now, when you're by yourself, you can kind of go anywhere, right? Like you can just go. But once you have a partner, which I'm very thankful for my partner. He's a great guy and he's in the business too. He does radio. So he gets it though. He understands it and he gets that we may have to pick up and move for somebody's big job or for even his job. It goes both ways. And so for this move, it kind of made sense though, because for Nashville, it was a music city. So for him, even though it's more known as country music, let me tell you something. It's every kind of music here. Everything happens here. It's one of the top hubs for writing, All the pop stars now come through here. I mean, it's a big deal. And so for us, it just made sense. And he took the leap of faith. He didn't have a job right away, but then he ended up getting a really great job from it. So I think sometimes it's all about timing, it's all about perseverance, and it's all about, everything works out when it's supposed to work out. But you also have to work really hard, and you have to have a really good, positive attitude.
Well, business vitamin, Ann, and you
She
can
just
set
said
that
about
up.
5.
Know your worth. What I got at that, know my worth. I know what I'm worth, and somebody better value my skill set as much as I do. That's what I heard, and that's all the elements and variables Danielle just listed so succinctly. But know your worth, everybody.
Well, you exude confidence, Danielle. And I think that probably, so background, I own a PR firm. So Monica and the rest of my team, we work with media all the time. And, kudos to you for doing live on air news and broadcasts, live weather events as well. Not everybody, fewer than 1% of the population is skilled and resilient enough, confident enough to go on live air.
True, public speaking.
Yeah. I mean, it's its own animal. And I would only put my clients on that I know really are masters of their subject, know how to segue when they need to. But so your confidence probably comes in your core skills of being able to have, we talk about gravitas. You have gravitas. It is that presence, even in, we can see on our digital setup. You exude confidence. You probably put all your guests at ease or whoever you're interviewing. And that's a great quality to have and make them feel at ease that they're going to respond to you the way you need to. But, having a high gear goal and understanding, charting your career, working with your spouse or partner in achieving that, I think is, it sounds like they're easy steps. They're not easy steps to do.
No, and it sounds to me like from age 8, right? It's sort of this, I have to get there. Did you realize at that point, Danielle, it was so much science?
I did know it was yes, I did know it was a lot of science. I chose, it's interesting because Penn State would have saved my parents a bungalow of money because it's Penn State. And, 1 out of every 4 meteorologists goes there. So it's a very well-known program.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yes. Very
big.
much.
Very
yes,
big.
Very big. Yep.
But I was like, if I can get into an Ivy League school, I want to go there. And then, nobody had done that like in my, nuclear family. And so I was like, I want to try to go there. And the reason I wanted to also go there is I wanted to expand my roots. I've always been a person that didn't want to, my mom calls me the person that never wanted to stay home. Like I wanted to meet people, see people, learn about things. And so by going to Cornell, I had a huge high school, I had 3,000 kids in my high school. Going to Cornell, on my floor alone, the people I met, my girlfriends the first year that are some of my best friends, there was one from Jersey, one from New York, one from Hawaii, one from Oklahoma. So I met all these people from all around the country and got to know all these different backgrounds. And I thought that was really neat to do that. Now, I also chose Cornell because if the science was too hard. I figured, well, if I get a degree out of Cornell, that's a really good school to get a degree from no matter what you do. But I was able to hack it. I was able to hack the science. I mean, it's not easy, I'll tell you that much. And I will say, Cornell is a heavily research school. So I tell my interns this all the time, or kids that are thinking about going there. It is not for the broadcast meteorologist necessarily. They want you to go into research. For me to go into broadcast, I had to make my own path while even there. So I made connections with ABC in Elmira, New York. So this guy saw me writing on the Daily Sun, the newspaper. I was the first meteorologist, female that is, to write for the Cornell Daily Sun in the early 2000s. And that paper was around since 1889. So it was crazy. And this guy picked it up, saw my picture, saw my column, and he was the GM of ABC Elmira, and he invited me to come to the station, and he let me fill in. So I filled in at age 20 on television, doing it on, now I was like a deer in headlights. You think I was confident? No. I was like, But I did the weather, and I think that helped, and then I got that program kind of set up so that Cornellians as they were good and going into broadcast, could go over there and fill in. And then I also worked with Ithaca College and did the weather over there.
Oh, yeah.
But I had to figure out those paths on my own. Nobody gave them to me. So I think
Well, they're the path least traveled, right?
Right. Yes.
To interrupt and be like somebody in sports journalism going to Syracuse, well, duh, right? Or going to Northwestern, right? They're the obvious things, but it's not necessarily writing at the core the way Penn would be, for instance, or another Ivy League that writers are flocking to, right? So not to interrupt you, but she's crazy smart. She's very, very strategic, right? Because you got the core
We
almost
only have
STEM
elite guests on here.
well,
You know that.
clearly, but she's a tour de force. But that ability to chart out the path and say, I'm going there is crazy smart.
But
right?
women have to, so I love that, Danielle. And part of what we want to impart on our younger listeners and viewers that are watching video is how to do that. Because lots of times I've had conversations with my Monica, who graduated from Penn State, and she would say, like, and she has a PR degree, like, I didn't know I should reach out to the president of Penn State before I leave the campus. All these things I was saying. And so I love that this kind of thing, if you don't see a path at your university or your college, make one. Don't wait for someone to open the door for you. Knock on that door. Seek the best people, the smartest people in the room. Introduce yourself. It's very simple. I don't know one CEO, and you probably don't know one person in broadcasting who would turn down a young person's invite to coffee or, an email request to just pour some of that wisdom back into the next generation. So they should ask. Create those lofty goals and then surround yourself with the best and brightest that will help you start climbing that ladder or getting the career, whether Boston, Nashville, New York, wherever that is. Tell us a little bit. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's exactly it. And I tell the people, so I have interns every summer. I never, like you said, if someone emails me, a high school student, middle school student, a parent with a little kid that's interested in whether a Girl Scout troop wants to earn their badge, they come into the studio with me. I go out to schools all the time because I think that's super important. And what I tell them all is, and especially as they get towards the age of possibly going into weather or even in college and they're thinking, okay, what am I going to do for my TV jobs? I said, don't be afraid to reach out. When I was going for jobs, a lot of the times what I would do is, even if I wasn't in the market yet, I would email a chief meteorologist if I was on vacation somewhere and say, can I pop in and just say hi?
That's so cool.
And they would, they would let you in. They let you in the door normally. And then a lot of times they introduce you to the news director. All of a sudden that news director remembers you 10 years down the line and like calls you and says, hey,
totally.
I met you when you were 20. What do you think now? Like, that kind of a thing. So it's like, just go get it. Go get it.
And it's what Hurricane did for her. So she's paying it forward.
Go get it.
And so I always, this is maybe, I don't know, a stereotype, but I equate STEM with not the personality you have. And I would say the exact same thing about Ginger. Like you're both crazy, crazy smart, but you have also this dynamic way to communicate. And to interpret that data in a simple way. Simple, not easy, right? But do it in such a way that we all understand it who are not STEM people, right? And so was that a natural transition for you to combine those two?
I think it definitely takes a little time. I mean, I think when I first went on the air, you get in your head like you want to be a meteorologist, right? So you want people to take you seriously, and you want them to think you're credible. So you talk more sciencey and you talk more like you think you're supposed to talk like a meteorologist. But then I remember one of my mentors saying, Danielle, the truth is until you turn into yourself on TV, you're not going to be the best version of yourself. You need to be you. Because if you're not your authentic self, and there are people, believe me, I've watched TV. There's some people that aren't that genuine. Like you can tell they're phoning it in or whatever. It comes across. People can read you. So it's better to just be you. So that's why I try to tell the interns, like, don't emulate being me. Emulate being you. And and bring the science in without being too scientific. Like I remember one news director said, don't talk like Danielle, that's going above my head. And I was like, okay, got it. So I always think like, are you smarter than a fifth grader? Almost like I think like that. But like, how am I going to explain this but in a way that the public understands. And then I just have to remember what's the most important information. So my thing is, it's explaining that there's, when there's severe weather, like there's the threat, not getting too technical, but just saying like, hey guys, all the ingredients are right. It's going to be here tomorrow, or it's going to be here tonight. Here's the biggest thing is like timing. People want to know the timing, the threats. Do I need to get ready to get into my tornado shelter tonight? Or is it just severe storms? What's happening? That kind of a thing. But it's hard. I mean, it takes time. I think it takes time, and it takes, years of working on it and getting comfortable with it. Now, I think too, for me, it also helped when I went to Oklahoma City. Like my first job was in Salisbury, Maryland, strictly weather. I went to Oklahoma City, I did weather, and then I started doing feature reporting. And I think that part of the job on air, interviewing people, getting to know people, that stuff made me more myself on television, because I just became like, yes,
storytelling. Exactly. You were telling stories, and weather is a story.
Right.
No, that's awesome.
She has to be her, and everyone else is taken.
I know. Well, on our bucket list, Danielle, is we are going to do several Grit and Gravitas from Nashville. So we are absolutely going to loop you into that. And Monica is trying to find just the perfect spot for us to broadcast.
I'm already going to weep, because it's going to be over in 4 minutes, just like that, right? It's already too short of a time.
It's our show. So so we can make it as long as we want, actually. Quick question for you, Danielle. What do you have an experience? What was one of your most, shocking experiences on air, or surprise, or something you had to really pivot when you were, doing, and you probably have a few of these. I don't know that you were knocked over by a wave, but whatever, any interesting stories while you're broadcasting weather.
I will tell you, I feel like Oklahoma City was an interesting one for me, because we had this huge studio. So we had 2 studios. So when you did weather, you had to like walk to another studio, then walk back, then sit on a couch. And 2 of my silly stories from there are, one time as I was walking back, you basically hear me, like you don't see it, because I'm walking and the graphic is full, and I hit my toe on the stoop and flew over it, fell on the ground. And my anchors all see, they're like, whoa. And I'm like, ow. And then I get up, they're like, she just tripped on her way back. And then I sat down, and it was brutal. I had black and blue marks, and they were zooming in on it the whole day. Look at her. So I definitely have fallen. I have definitely fallen on air. I ripped a dress on air.
Oh, that's awful.
Sat down, and it went,
No.
And then they duct taped it and kept zooming in on the duct tape for the rest of the morning. I mean, Fox was a fun show in Oklahoma City. We had a large morning show, and it went on, and it was sillier. So we definitely did some of that. In Boston, when I was in the middle of a snowstorm, I was out there, and they were recording on me, and I didn't even know. And I was like, whoa, wind. And I got blown. And then they used that on the national show that night. They're like, Danielle Meteorologist, Danielle Breezy's testing those 60-mile-per-hour winds. And I'm like, whoa.
Oh, I love it.
So I've definitely had some interesting moments in weather, and especially in Boston, because I did all the snowstorms. They kind of called me the Snowmageddon gal, because we had the most snowiest winter ever in Boston when I was there, of course, go figure. And so that I'd be out there on Cape Cod, not in the summer, but in the middle of a blizzard, with stuff coming after me. But people would bring me food. They would shelter me. It was great. I had a great time.
Awesome. So how can our listeners and fans, because we have a lot of fans, right?
We have a tremendous amount of fans.
How can they follow you, Danielle? What social channels are you on?
Oh, yeah. I'm on pretty much everything. I mean, Danielle Breezy TV is Facebook and Instagram. And I think I'm that on Cameo, TikTok. Yeah, I joined TikTok. I don't know what I'm doing, admitting that now fully. And then Twitter. I'm also on Twitter, just Danielle Breezy. And if you want, if you're in Nashville, it's ABC WKRN in Nashville. I'll be on Good Morning America next weekend again, filling in from Nashville. And then Labor Day
so that will be
too.
August what? Well, this is going to air after that, but yeah.
So I gotta get on Cameo and have her record something for me, or for the company.
There you go. I'm happy to do it.
This girl, I'm telling you, she's
fire. And while you're in Nashville, you guys are having awful weather, to rain and flooding. I know Kentucky's having really bad weather too. So no, Danielle, we're gonna meet in person, because that's one of our high gear goals, and we're gonna do Grit Gravitas recording live from Nashville.
Oh my God, you cannot keep teasing me like this. Let's just go. Let's just get there, let's do it.
I know it's going to give me a reason. I got to find another outfit, a awesome kick-A outfit, because I'm sure on camera, I really want to know the secrets too of wardrobes for you meteorologists and the rest of the women.
Well, you and Danielle are winning the day. You both are.
No, I got to find your tips and secrets, how you find your best outfits when you're on air. That's what I need to know.
And thank you, Danielle. 30 minutes goes like that. You know how fast it goes. But from my Philly, Pennsylvania heart, you are fabulous. And I can't thank you enough for the time.
And I think I love weather more now because of you.
Yes.
So I want to now pay more attention besides take shelter. Yeah, I want to know.
Go Eagles. Go Eagles.
Go Eagles. I say go Birds. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Have a great weekend, Danielle.
Have a high gear day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. It's our desire that these stories will bring energy, ideas, and fresh thinking that you can use today. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram, and have a high gear day.